Ben Simmons, James Harden, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Brooklyn Nets finally got it done in a deadline move that saw James Harden and Paul Millsap head over to the Philadelphia 76ers in exchange for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 draft picks. Now, it's interesting that the Sixers went from demanding draft picks to giving up draft picks, okay? And it's also interesting to me that the Nets got such a good return because they had no leverage. This morning, when they said James Harden was quote unquote screaming to get out of Brooklyn, they lost all their leverage. If I was the Sixers, I would say, hey, look, this guy's going to leave you anyway. I'm going to give you Simmons and Danny Green, take it or leave it. But they figured out a deal. BJ, what was your instant reaction? What were your thoughts when this deal first came up on your phone and you first heard about this?
Wow, Mo, that's a lot to unpack. Well, I'm going to try to take our listeners behind the scenes and behind the curtain here. First, all right, as you know, Mo, a rule of thumb, you never go into any negotiation without any leverage.
That's facts.
And the thing that Philadelphia and Brooklyn have been doing this entire time is going back and forth to gain leverage, whether that's leverage in the media, whether that's leverage with your fan base, or actual leverage for real by looking at the salary cap and the sheets and knowing what's real and what's not. Now, there's a thing that every executive knows. You're always on the lookout for disgruntled stars. It's a known fact in the NBA circle. When Ben Simmons made this decision, the first thing I did was I went and I looked at my salary sheets and I said, that's the only player. Mo,
yep.
How long have I been telling you this? I said, that's the only guy.
BJ first told me this in the summer. Last summer.
I said, this is the only guy where this will work. Now it's just getting to a place where it actually works for everyone on their timeline. That's all it was. So the thing that amazed me about this entire trade was how it was reported, because it was reported by a well-respected reporter, journalist here, Woj, and he said there wasn't conversations amongst the two teams.
But at the same time, go ahead. Brian Windhorst was saying they talked this morning. They talked this afternoon. They've been talking for days. So it's like, who's giving the Woj that information, and who's giving? You can see the two sides trying to play each other.
And that was the key for me, because now I'm going to take you as a former executive. When you make a deal like this at the money and the dollars we're talking about, the executives can only take the deal so far before the owners have to get in to consummate the deal. Okay, this deal doesn't get done with Daryl Morey and Sean Marks. It doesn't get done with those. The owners have to come in and say, okay, what is it going to take to do the deal? And then when they talk, they have to figure out who's the buyer here and who's the seller. This is how it works.
Yep.
Now, you can tell by the way the deal happened that the deal meant way more to Philadelphia than it did to Brooklyn.
Yep.
Because as you mentioned, they went from wanting all of this stuff back to now they were giving.
Yep.
So clearly they were the buyers in this deal.
Yep.
Okay. And they did what they had to do to get the deal. And I'm going to give Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets credit. They did an excellent job of receiving what they believe to be fair compensation for this player under duress, because that was a very difficult thing to do if you were the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
And when you look at it on paper, okay, when you look at it on paper, they received, talking about Brooklyn, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks.
Let's just take it deeper than that for a sec. They received a top 5 defender in the NBA in Ben Simmons. They received a big man to their very small team that lacks size, 2 big men, 2 7-footers that can rebound the basketball, and they received a 40% three-point shooter that can fill the gap left by Joe Harris being injured right now. So it's not just the names. Look at what they received in terms of the on-court product.
Excellent. On paper, it looks great.
And two first-round picks.
First-round picks. Excellent job. So everyone took it to where it needed to get to. The executives did, and then the owners came in. And as you and I know, Mo, every deal gets done at the 11th hour.
Yep.
Okay. Every deal is going to get done at the 11th hour. Nothing changed here. Now, I thought both teams did an excellent job. I think both teams, it fits what they're trying to do. And I think it's a good deal, right? Some will say, well, Brooklyn won because they got the second round picks, and Brooklyn won because they got, hey, it looks good on paper. In the end, this deal fits the timeline of both teams. You have 2 star players who were unhappy in their current situations. It works financially. And now, Mo, you and I get a chance to talk about basketball in between the lines, because I'm so sick of talking about all of this stuff outside of the lines. But that's how that deal went down. That's how it got done.
Let's break down the on-court bits. But before we do that, I have one more piece of basketball business to talk about with this trade, okay? James Harden is going to opt into his $43 million player option, okay? That means in 6 months from now, he can sign a $275 million extension. That's worth 5 years. So when James Harden is 38 years old, he will be earning $62 million. And our friend Bobby Marks over at ESPN called it the worst contract in the NBA. He says the way we talk about Russell Westbrook today is how we're going to talk about James Harden in the future. But I'm going to say this, for everyone criticizing that move, you have to go all in. We spent so long talking about James Harden, Joel Embiid, MVP. You have to go. You can't worry about paying money 5 years from now, okay? You have to do what you can to win a championship this season, next season, the season after. In 5 years' time, you ain't got to worry about that, okay? There could be a jump in the salary cap, and that might not look so bad, okay? But I like this deal